Well, is anybody out there hearing me? It's late night somewhere. It might be late where you are. I know it's late where I am. So I see a bunch of wonderful, beautiful people have shown up already. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm still opening up my systems. We have the lovely, the ever lovely PhilosophiCat with us for at least an hour, I think, which is fantastic because we're going to be showing the skit that her and Jared made, and we're also going to be showing you all a few other things. If you saw the tweet earlier, Seaver says the sound is great as usual. Well, that is fantastic, and it looks like the one and only Jared George has just stepped into backstage. So I will bring him from out behind the curtain, if all is well. There we go.
The lights in the crowd.
Squint.
Put me back behind the curtain. Yes, I restarted my browser. I apologize for the brief delay, but it seems like everything is responding a lot better now, so maybe the computer just needed a little refresh.
So
I was getting concerned you couldn't hear me, but that was just a long pause, eh?
No, well, that was the trying to get the entropy up and running. I see DB Cooper is here, the great DB Cooper, who working class guy like the rest of us, and purchased a dozen Go Free copies of Go Free, and is going to be passing those out. And a big
that's great.
Thank you very much for that. For Null is here. Of course, we played for Null and Hyrith's piece a little earlier, which was absolutely magnificent. If you missed it, please go back, ladies and gentlemen, and check it out. Once we're
I first heard that a few weeks ago on White Art Collective on the Saturday night live stream, and it hit me right away. It's very moody. You know, Fornull is showing himself as quite a versatile producer, and that was a great collaboration. I'm glad you got to play that, and we'll put it on the site because we have the community section on our site, of course. And speaking of the site, please visit theafterparty.tv. Remember, Jason, especially since we're audio only tonight, it's like we have to be on radio, how they say the name of the station every few minutes. Imagine if we were morning drive guys. Imagine what kind of world this would be if we had like a morning drive radio show. It'd be we would know that something has changed if that day had come. Although, in the spirit of this show, I'd probably prefer it to be a quirky late night radio show, more in the style of what we're doing right now. But yeah, please go check out the Watch Live Now page, and you should be able to watch our show right on the site. Watch Live Now on theafterparty.tv, and let us know how it is. We're still working with Entropy to work out some kinks, and it's probably not working on mobile quite yet for most of you. But the whole point is to make it so that you'll be able to, well, a lot of you can right now, so please do so if you can. You can sign into Entropy, but watch right in an embedded window on our site. And by the way, that page also will let you know upcoming shows, so you could always check that out or bookmark that too, please.
Indeed. So, Kat, why don't you step on up to the microphone? We're all in the same room, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So we have one mic, and we have to get close to it one at a time. And so that's how this works. How are you doing, Kat?
Well, hello. I'm doing well. How are you?
Splendid. Absolutely splendid. Especially because we're going to be watching this hilarious video that the two of you have made. I'm so proud of the both of you and the great work that you have done.
Jason's the only one who's seen it so far.
Yeah, it is so. All of these skits that you all have done have been magnificent. There, a great many people are going to see these. They're going to have a little laugh, or a bigger laugh, a smaller laugh, and they're going to say, "What's this all about?" And so they're going to look deeper, and they're going to find all of the positivity and love and energy and enthusiasm and the great music that we have here and poetry, and they're going to want to stick around. Will be what lasts as a result. So yeah, I'm so proud of the both of you. If you'd like, Jared, why don't you take us into how this idea got rolling? And Kat was saying a little bit before we started the show, before we went live. So why don't you tell us a little bit of the history about this skit before we play it for everybody?
Yeah, Kat might remember better than I at this point, but believe it or not, this all started in the spring. I mean, I wanted to do skits. The idea of doing skits came pretty early. I was thinking about doing this last year. And as these things go, I think a lot of us feel this way. There's just so many ideas and different things you want to do. And as much as it's great to have that energy, things also kind of roll out in their own time. So I had the impetus to do skits in 2018, just when we were starting. And there's just like that now. There's still a lot more I want to do. A lot of us want to do, which is great. It's like a coil that's been wound up. And now that we're discovering, all of us here together, that we have this forum and these growing communities where we can exercise these different muscles that we have, because we're surrounded by people who have our values, and we're reaching out to people who are starting to understand where we're coming from more, what our concerns are, and create more of our own media and our own culture. And well, in terms of the skit specifically, I wanted to do something simple. Obviously, there are people in these circles making little films and all kinds of media, and we applaud all that. It's great. When you're creative, sometimes it is actually very good to have limits. And so we don't have sets and budgets and elaborate stuff, and we're in different places. And I don't know when it came to me, but I had the idea that the starting premise to do this would be like you're a fly on the wall watching Skype calls and different scenarios. And I guess that's a very limiting thing, but you could still say something with it. So in the spring, I guess I'd written a script, and I think this was the first one. Kat can fill in anything I forget that we were trying to do. And some of the technical stuff, as simple as these are, when you see just the two of us, there's a lot of stuff with recording the audio separately and fixing that up. And Micah Official, who helps with editing for me, has been wonderful. He's the guy who actually edited and co-directed with me the Who We Are video. So he's really been someone from the community who stepped up and has been working intimately with me. And I always give him a lot of respect and love. So Blonde Buttermaker actually had mentioned this idea to me because we were talking after she was on tap back in April. And the idea was a little bit different, but it was still the one that you're about to watch tonight with pills. This is all I'll say, in kind of a call-a-doc kind of a situation. So a little shout out to the Blonde Buttermaker as well. And then there's a little piece of music at the end from Poseidon's library. So a bit of a collaborative effort, some different friends of ours helping out. But what you saw this summer, actually, The Last Blonde and I think in September, Land of the Free Shipping. So we filmed those after attempting to do what you're about to see tonight, and had those. So those came out first, and now there's this one, and hopefully there will be a lot more coming down the pike. But yeah, the ideas just kind of hit me. I have a little running file, and then I sit down and write them. And when you're writing something humorous, or hopefully some of you will find it humorous, I know a little of that's in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes, we hit these certain absurd lines, and maybe we could talk a little bit more about it after you all see it. But when you hit a particular line that's especially absurd or something silly, what makes it humorous is actually playing it straight. And Kat has been really great to do this to act with. She's natural on camera. And I think we have, if I may say, a really good rapport and working relationship. So it's been really fun to film these. And, we do a bunch of takes and find the one that it's the most natural and has the most flow. But that's a little bit of the story behind them. Kat, if there's anything you'd like to add, please do so.
Yeah, I would definitely like to hear what Kat's perception of the whole process has been, and how she felt. And at any point, did you feel silly, or did you feel like it was ridiculous? How did you get into character? All of that sort of thing. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say this as Kat is getting ready to answer, and that is that as we in the community of Going Free, as we continue to build all of these different type of creativity, this art, the acting here, the writing the scripts, the poetry, as I was mentioning earlier, and the music, of course, that we premiered tonight, the lexicon and the dialectics that we apply to the meme pathogens that we are infected with, we create a living organism. So that, yes, today, if you want to get a much larger audience, you have to appeal to people who are suffering grievously from white noir. You have to appeal to people's need to, in a way, deal with superficially their meme pathogens. And that is a very easy way to gain a significant audience. But rest assured that in the long run, it is going to be the community that we are building that is going to be the community that is going to get truly the largest, that is going to be the healthy community. People are going to come in, and when they do, it's not going to be some simple fix that is going to satisfy or cover up something, some element of white noir that they're suffering with. It's going to be something that is going to be healing. They're going to be able to find the kind of, the well-being music that they're looking for, the white well-being rock or the white well-being synth music, whatever it might be. They're going to be able to find it here. They'll be able to find a place for themselves. And that is why what we are doing is something, we're like the cells in the beginning of life, and we are dividing and growing. Eventually, we will be the life form that we intend to be, rather than being like essentially like a drug dealer who is just speaking to people's ills right now. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just to speak to politics and mire people in that all day long. Nobody's going to get better there, but they'll get better here. So, here we have, and I'll pass it over to Kat. There are no dilettantes here. There are no philosophasters or sciolists or obesitarians or none of that nonsense. We are the
maybe people. What's a word for someone with a big vocabulary? What's a fancy word for someone with a big vocabulary?
A fancy word.
Jason, what is it?
A fancy word for a person with a big vocabulary? Oh, I'll have to think about that. I'm not sure.
Ironic, but we do have people with good vocabularies.
That we do. But no, we have talented people, amazing people, and very lucky to have them here. Two of them are here with us right now. So, Kat, please tell us how, when Jared came to you, what were your thoughts? Did you think, I'm running away from this? Or this sounds great. What were you thinking?
It sounded interesting. I mean, I don't think anyone else has ever really done something like that before. So I thought it's worth giving it a try and see how well it's received by people. And so far, people seem to like it. So that's wonderful. You asked me a whole bunch of questions before you went on your speech, and I don't remember what they all were now, though. Sorry.
How did you get into the roles when you had them? How did the whole script hit you? Did you think it was too silly? Did you think you might not be able to pull it off, or all of these sorts of thoughts that initially occurred to you?
I didn't think that hard about it, to be honest. I do have kind of a theater background. I used to do improv comedy. So being silly is not hard for me. That's actually kind of my default state, which I'm told does not come across in my standard videos on my YouTube channel. But my natural personality is actually quite silly. So
that's important. I don't want to cut you off, but that's really important. People see us up here in this one capacity. But that's actually a really important point, and I'm glad you said that.
Well,
I feel the same.
People like in person who have known me first through my channel, only for them to tell me that I was nothing like what they were expected, and they almost seemed disappointed. Like they were expecting some serious conversation with me, and I can't stop goofing around like a 7-year-old. Oh, sorry to all of those people.
But yeah, you're a 3-dimensional person. That's the thing.
Maybe even more than 3 dimensions.
Well, yes, in a manner of speaking. But see, that's the PhilosophiCat coming out. A multi-dimensional person functioning on many cylinders.
Indeed. Or it could just be like multiple personalities. I'm not sure yet.
No. Multiple layers in the cosmic order that you're attuned to.
There might be a pill for that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see when we watch the skit, I guess.
Very good. Well,
which I have not seen yet.
Oh, well then, wow. I got to see it before you did. That's amazing.
You did. You're
oh, you didn't see the edit? Wow. I should have. I apologize. The last two times.
It wasn't exactly submitted to me for approval, but that's okay. I trust you guys, I think.
The last 2 times that the last two skits, which the first was called The Last Blonde and then Land of the Free Shipping. Yes, I've, of course, as a courtesy, sent it to Kat since she's on camera and said, hey, this is it. And she was like, great. And I actually, you know what? You got me. I was so excited about this. I apologize. I didn't send it to you. Totally overlooked that. But I'm banking on your trust of me that's been built up.
Don't disappoint me.
Yeah, I mean, you did approve your raw, like your side of it. So you have seen your performance.
It's been totally spliced up to mix all the words up, Kat, so that you just look ridiculous. That's all I can say. So everything you submitted was totally chopped into pieces and reassembled, so that
you're saying terrible things.
You won't be ashamed.
I feel a little offended that you guys didn't think I did a ridiculous enough job on my own, that you had to splice it together like that. But okay, it's fine. I'll try harder next time.
Yeah, it's like those videos when someone takes a Barack Obama speech and cuts up every word and makes it seem like he's saying something absurd or against what he would be propagating. I'm sure you've all seen those kinds of videos around social media.
Sure, of course.
Indeed. Well, you've got quite an audience waiting. Maybe we should play the video.
We'll play the video. I was wondering if anybody was going to come up with the word that means a person who uses enormous words, but I can't come up with one, and nobody in the audience has yet either. The only thing I can think about is maybe it's not a person who uses large words, though, but it is a rare word, a dipnosophist. That's a conversationalist, especially over dinner. So I don't know if that actually works, but if anybody can find the word.
Especially over dinner. I love when words are that specific, and it fascinates me as someone who loves language of what the etymology of something like that is. Especially over dinner. That's the context.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I love good conversation over dinner.
Okay, let's see. We will find this screen and we will play this video for everyone. And we just had a super chat from Mestizo, $5. Thank you so much, dear friend. Good evening, Jason, Jared, and Kat. Any thoughts on YouTube being sued by the FTC for violating COPPA? This could affect content creators. Well, that's the whole, we've all been, as content creators, we've been getting this warning that says we have to declare whether we are making content for children or making content for adults. And you can do it channel wide or you can do it per video. And I have been advised to do it channel wide because YouTube, it'll be another reason, another excuse they'll give to do what they already want to do, which is to censor us from the platform.
Yeah, I went and did that too.
So
although perhaps the skit they would say is for children. If it's too immature, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, is it adult children? Are we making skits for the neotenous adults in the room? Because are we gonna be in trouble then for that? Let's see. Let me find it, and we will play it for everyone. For the first time, you all will be seeing this video, and you will be able to share it again and again.
Yeah, and then I'll put it on my channel after the weekend. So this will just be a sneak peek during the stream tonight, and then we have other stuff to do tonight.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little look at the last message to the West site. We're also, it sounds a little indulgent, also going to play my Red Ice video that just came out, and we'll be talking about whatever else comes to people's minds. As you guys know, it's late night somewhere shows, or maybe you don't. Maybe you're new to this. We were doing some more in the beginning of the year. They're definitely more spontaneous and laid back. As we said, more like an intimate late night FM radio show. And when we start the skit, I'll keep an eye on the chat. Please let us know if the sound is okay. If it's really low and you can't hear it, then maybe we'll have to restart. So please do let us know if the sound is good to you once Jason starts playing it.
Yes, please do that. Let me just say hello to a few hundred of my closest friends here. Gosh, look at that. We got 4 Null. Hyreth is here. Eternalism, Raymond is here, of course. White Rider, Ken Jackson, Lisa is here. JK 160 based. Let's see, Ooga Booga. is here. Thank you all for showing up. And you know who else I saw? I saw Oliver, but I don't see him now. I know he's here somewhere. And there's Jeff is here. Great to see you, brother. So let's go ahead and we'll see if this is going to play properly and enjoy the skit.
Thanks for calling. I'm Tammy, your licensed healthcare professional with Docs After Hours. How can I help you this evening?
Yeah, I've been having a little indigestion. It's been keeping me up at night. I was wondering if you could write a prescription and I could pick up something at my pharmacy tomorrow morning.
Is it a stabbing pain in the chest?
Yeah, I've normal indigestion. I've had it before.
And a hot pain around your stomach?
Sure, yeah, I guess
for
so.
the stabbing pain, you'll need a prescription for prolaxin, and for the hot pain, you'll need Bamaline.
I need 2 prescriptions for indigestion.
Well, the prolaxin has a side effect of night sweats, so you'll also need Foxidil for that.
3? I had indigestion a few years ago. I don't remember 3 medicines for indigestion.
Things change, sir.
Okay. Well, are these name brands or generic drugs?
Name brands.
Well, even my insurance covering a bit might add up. Can we just do the generics?
Are you sure? The families that own these pharmaceutical companies have to be able to donate to museums, sir.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll do the generics. Thank you.
Well, you'll also need something for the night sweat drug that has a side effect of obsessive thoughts about being in car accidents.
What does this have to do with indigestion?
I'm sensing a little hostility, so I'm also now required by law to prescribe something to calm you down.
That's really not necessary. I'm like the calmest person I know.
Narcissism will need something for that too.
Can you just maybe write something for a strong prescription antacid?
Have you ever had an irrational fear of wolves wearing capes?
No.
You will now.
Listen, please, I don't want any of this.
Don't worry. The wolves wearing capes thing will wear off after 6 months.
I don't need any of this.
You may have to get used to the taste of glue.
I'm not taking a medication with a glue aftertaste.
No, you'll want to start eating glue as you'll eventually revert to a childlike state from one of the medications.
Wait. What did you say your name was? Tammy? Tammy, is that right? Tammy, have you ever heard of the red pill?
No. Most of these pills are white. Some are yellow. One is blue.
Tammy. The red pill, it's a metaphor. Allow me to explain. You're an agent of clown world.
Oh, we have a medication for fear of clowns.
No, Tammy, listen to me. I wouldn't even have this indigestion if I ate more natural foods, which I've been meaning to do. You have all these commercials with the medications, and you need the side effect for the other side effect. They have you wanting to buy more and more and more. Let me explain. I want to show you a few things. I actually want to show you a few things.
Oh my God. He was right about everything.
And that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you red pill people. They wake up at 3 a.m. and say, "Oh my God, that guy was right about everything."
That is absolutely splendid. That is fantastic, you two. I laughed so hard at the wolves part. That was.
Well, I have a very important announcement. If a fear of wolves wearing capes is a very serious thing. So if anyone has an irrational fear of wolves wearing capes, please reach out to me. I've been through this and I can talk you through it. We can get through this together. They need to
reach out to me. I'll give them a pill for that.
Don't go to the pill lady. That was when I was talking earlier. Anyone that was in the beginning of the stream about keeping a straight face and playing it straight for the most ridiculous lines, for the fiction of the characters, the audience, it hits the audience better. That was really the line I was thinking of. That's the kind of humor I grew up with my friends, just that really kind of off the wall, ridiculous, random Monty Python type stuff. But I would say somehow it's not nihilist. Somehow it's just kind of celebratory. But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, that's a little window into my sense of humor. The wolves wearing capes thing, just crazy little images like that. I love stuff like that. So, Kat, how was it? That was the first time you saw it. Do you approve? Is it okay? Are you never going to speak to me again?
Yeah, I'm never speaking to you again. No, I'm kidding. It was great.
Yeah,
And again, Micah Official helping with the editing. Big shout out to him and all the love to all those people in the end sequence there. There was a little cameo there by Jason's book, Born Guilty, among the red pilling elements for Kat's character.
Which, when we filmed it, I couldn't see anything you were holding up. I had to just kind of guess at what you were doing because we couldn't see each other when we were filming.
Yeah. There's all kind of weird technical stuff, and we could hear each other but couldn't see each other. But you did a great job of just.
You were like, I'm just going to be holding up a bunch of stuff, and I have no idea what it is. So.
That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Well done for the both of you.
And the moral of the story is you don't need so many pills. Just take care of your health.
Yes, exactly.
Don't eat sugar.
I 100% agree with that. Stay away from that poison.
Yeah, definitely don't eat glue either.
Yeah, no, don't eat glue. I don't recommend that.
Well, yeah, it seems like people liked it. And again, I'll put that on my channel after the weekend. And then maybe as we do, Jason will put it on his channel in a few weeks after that. So it's all there. It'll be on the afterparty.tv. Of course, we have a humor section, Kat. I don't know if you know that, in the little hamburger menu on the top left of the afterparty.tv. And it pops down. You got all this different media. And we're there under humor skits. The first 2 skits are there, and we'll be soon adding this one. And more coming down. I know it might have been a little bit low. I think the DLive crowd more was saying the volume was a tiny bit low. I know its volume might not be the loudest when we're playing it on these streams, but of course it'll be at full blast when it's published as its own video.
Yeah, and then we can rerun it again as well as a quote unquote premiere on my channel in a couple months. To bring it back to folks, we'll have plenty of new people in the service to White Wellbeing at that time, so it'll be brand new to them. It'll be great to introduce them to the community. And can you imagine living in the anti-white narrative and believing that anyone who cares at one jot for white people, for white children, anyone who cares whatsoever for our history, the things that matter to us, the things that we need to survive and be a healthy people, that they are this one particular archetype, they are just this bad guy in the story, and then they show up expecting to see those markers. They show up elsewhere in the white positive sphere, and they will see some of those markers, but they show up here, and they're going to see completely normal people that run the gamut of all levels of education, all different types of trades and professions, interests and the like. And we're having fun, and at the same time serving the one thing that absolutely has the most meaning in the universe, and that is the biospirit that gave us life, the only thing that can give us our destiny back. So that will be something that'll be truly magical for a lot of people when they come to us and they see these. We're talking about being three-dimensional and not just these flattened out stereotypical characters in the anti-white narrative. That how many dramas have they put on, especially these channels that are made for ladies, one after the other. You know, it's another clean-cut, handsome white guy that on the surface is that, but underneath he's this monster come to stalk and destroy and harm every little non-white, innocent, the most innocent non-white person that they could write into character form. They couldn't even potentially in any lifetime be a real life, but nonetheless they are real in all of these dramas that they put together, and that's the person that the white guy victimizes. So yeah, a completely different, and that's what we need to be. We need to, when folks show up with our normal sensibilities, they see themselves and they say, well, geez, this is what it means to serve white well-being. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well said. Well said. They'll present certain characters and you look at it and you say, well, that's not me. So you don't proceed any further. You see something that doesn't resonate with you, you're like, oh, no, look at these fringe, crazy people. Look at what they're wearing. Look what they sound like. Well, that's not me. That's what they want to do. It's all propaganda.
So I'm gonna ask the everyone listening now, and hello to everyone across all the platforms. I think we have people watching on every single platform. So hello to everyone who is watching right now and those who will be watching in replay as well. I want to know in the live chat or in the thread beneath the video when we are in replay. I just saw Jay Esom show up. Hello to you again. And want to know from everyone, what was your favorite part of that skit? Or do you have favorite parts of the other skits that Jared and Kat have done? What is your favorite part? I will tell you that the wolves with capes was my second favorite part of this skit, and I will let you all guess at what my favorite part is. I might not be sharing it, but we'll see if anybody could guess what my favorite part of this skit was. So what do you all have to say? Now, I'll start off with the two participants. Jared, what was your favorite part of this skit?
Well, I am partial to the wolves wearing capes line, like I said before. Kind of encapsulates the silly random bit of humor, that part of my brain. But I do like the fact, too, of how it ends in a bit of a different way with that sequence with the music. And again, for anyone that missed the beginning, Blonde Buttermaker did help with the seed of the concept about talking to someone from Coladoc or something like that, because we were talking about different premises you could use that would be germane to this Skype call format. And then Poseidon had this remix of the clown song. So being able to give a little love to people like you, Jason, and Marcus Fallen, the Golden One, Survive the Jive, and Woes, and Mark Collette on Power, and the little clip from that, or still from that, Frody was on the show. And what else? So Countercurrents, the Countercurrents website. So some of these content creators and thinkers that have helped influence and articulate what we're about and form people's opinions and let them know they're part of a community. It was great that we were able to do that as well. Have that little sequence with the music and give this little extra different kind of thing at the end. That's the first time we tried something like that was different than just the conversation itself. So a little bit more of a twist there.
Yeah, I really liked it. I was taken surprised by I thought, how are they going to sum up? It's going to have to be like some fast film or something, and then you started and the music played, and that was fantastic.
That's one of the hardest parts sometimes, is putting a cap on it, is ending it. How do you end it? Yeah. Right. I try to end these with a little button or exclamation mark.
Right. Well, we just had Poseidon show up, and I want to say hello to our dear brother.
Poseidon, I don't know if you heard me saying, but I was thanking you for lending me your remix of the Clown World song, and it played so well into the piece. And I'm going to put the link to the Humor and Skits page on the afterparty.tv in our chat as well.
Kat, what was your favorite part?
I always liked Jared's line that he wasn't eating anything with a glue aftertaste.
Oh yeah.
And just the ridiculousness of the side effects that all these drugs have. And I'm sure that's something a lot of people can relate to. You go to the doctor for one thing, they give you some drug, and that makes you feel worse in a different way. And then they've got drugs to take care of all those side effects. And the next thing you know, within a matter of months, you've gone from a healthy person who never took any medications to taking like handfuls of pills every day. And not only is your original ailment not better, but you just feel overall worse and have all these other terrible symptoms. And that was, I mean, I've gone through that myself. I know many people who have gone through that. And it's just, I just kind of start to see it as one more way that like the system is trying to kill us all. Like they just want you to be as unhealthy as possible, as miserable as possible, and just keep paying them money for the privilege of feeling sick all the time. So I'm glad to say that I pretty much would never take any of those pharmaceutical drugs ever again. I won't even touch like a Tylenol for a headache at this point. The whole industry is just so corrupt.
Yeah, that was the bigger thing. The bigger trajectory of the skit was this funnel. That, of course, it starts off with the most mundane thing. The guy's calling about indigestion, and it funnels into something that's going to revert him to a childlike state by the end, sitting in a corner, rocking and eating glue. But it is a statement on exactly what Kat just said. Of course, that's what I wanted to get across.
Well, I have always I've always thought it funny when these commercials, they come on and they sometimes are back to back, but they very often occur near each other. But you'll have some new pharmaceutical, and it will list all of the things that can go wrong, or they'll have somebody saying it really fast at the end. So it's going to help lower your blood pressure, but your eyes may bleed out of your head and all of these other crazy things. And then after the commercial ends and you're kind of in shock about with all of this symptoms and side effects of the medication, and then it's a lawyer commercial. It's like Jip and Swindle. Have you taken this drug? And they named the drug that they were just trying to sell you. And did your eyes bleed out of your head? If it has happened to you, then make sure you contact Jipping and Swindle so that we can. And that's those names, by the way. I worked with a Jipping, and there was a Swindle in the house of the federal government. So we used to make that joke with both of those people in the same room. It was hilarious back in the day. But you know what else is? I was at the doctor the other day and talking about teledoc and all of this sort of thing. And I went in, and they handed me a tablet, not a tablet that you pop in the mouth, but a computer tablet. And I had to do everything for myself, but the rate I paid was the same. I had to answer the tablet had all of the questions. No, there were no other human being involved in this, and I just had to sit in a room with other people with tablets. I mean, what is this? What our healthcare is going to become in the future? That you don't actually get a physician until you are in full arrest on the floor, and then maybe then, unless they know that you've served White Wellbeing at some point. And then they just let you die in the room. But and that's of course true if the folks haven't heard about that in the UK. One of their, I don't know if it's going to hold true for the whole healthcare system, but certainly in some part of the UK, an article came out that if you had some sort of past where you supported White Wellbeing, they were going to be able to deny you treatment as long as you weren't ready to die right on the spot. And then something else that just struck me as I'm looking, and Poseidon will know what I'm talking about here. As I'm looking at all of the different platforms that we're streaming to, and I'm looking at the different dashboards across them, I see this thing about stream health, and its stream is strong. And that always makes me think about prostates. just the commercials are all the time talking about having to go to the bathroom when you become an old man, and your stream weak. Well, the stream is strong here. We don't need to take any medication for that. But
Jason, is your stream strong?
My stream is strong tonight. It is a strong stream.
Excuse me, there are ladies present. Don't be disgusting.
We're talking about the stream that we're doing right now. It's very strong.
We're talking about internet connection, Kat.
Yeah.
Sure you were.
It's
well, you should want your Western men to be healthy, right?
It's a healthy green.
I do. But there are certain things that are not polite to talk about in mixed company, and that's one of them.
Raymond's pointing out that we have some. I have to move over here onto D Live because it looks like we have. I'll switch screens. Nope, that's not the right one.
Do I have another Ninja to add to my growing garage? I'm gonna have to build another garage here on my estate.
No, but we do have Dig Two Graves has super chatted $1 and writes, "What was the first red pill book Jared held up?" Thank you very much for that super chat, Jared.
Well, that would be Dauntless by Marcus Follin, the golden one. And we actually spoke to him at length about that on Tap back in August. I believe it was August 13th. but just go to the afterparty.tv, go to the hamburger bar up top, the little 3-line menu on the top left, open that up. You'll have all the pages pop down. You go to the after party and you can peruse. We are still populating all the old ones, but we're back into 2018 now, back cataloging everything. But certainly that his episode was just recent within the last few months. It is there, and you can watch it on the afterparty.tv, or of course, check out playlists on my channel or Jason's YouTube channel. It's still living on Jason's YouTube channel as well. But yeah, that was Dauntless. Check it out. I actually have a signed copy from the man himself, very proudly sitting on my bookshelf.
Fantastic. I think Jilly wrote over here on D Live, the stream is strong in this one. And tagging me.
The life force. She means the life
Look
force.
at what you've done to the chat. No.
It has,
Kat, we know you have a silly side. You can take it.
it has devolved into stream health. And I'll have to tell my physician next time I go to the doctor that I have a very strong stream when we stream here with all of our good friends. So we do have, let's see over here on entropy. We have Quebecois as a question in the question widget. And folks, we are in, I guess, just in a minute before we we want to make sure that Kat's still here when we take a look at the last message to the West site. But Quebecois has asked, wondering what Kat's relationship with her father was like in her teenage years. Now, Kat, of course, you all are free to ask all of these questions, but we are also free to answer or not. So, Kat, feel free to be as deep or as shallow as you like with your answer on that question.
It's an interesting question, a little out of nowhere.
Yeah, my general policy is that I don't discuss my personal life in that regard. So I think I'll take a pass on that. Sorry.
Very good. Well, now Quebecois has also super chatted over here on Entropy. Thank you very much for that at $3, and is asking a question that I find peculiar. This one, at least. Question for PhilosophiCat. Has she seen the man who planted trees?
Meaning the trees behind you in the avatar? Right.
I know what he's talking about. Somebody, maybe, I can't remember who, but somebody recently had left a comment on one of my videos asking if I'd seen that and sent me a link to it. And I saw that it was quite long, so I've bookmarked it for later to watch when I have time to actually sit down and pay attention to it. So I haven't seen it yet, but it is in my watch later list.
Ah, yes. Okay. Yes, he clarified here in the live chat that it is a video indeed. I thought it was something mystical.
What is? Do you know the premise of that video? The man planting trees?
I don't. I'd never heard of it before, but it came highly recommended, so I'll hopefully get to it soon. I just usually tend to put YouTube on when I'm driving, and I just kind of listen to it. So if it's something I actually have to sit down and watch, I've got to make time for it and actually, be able to give it my full attention.
It sounds like a parable.
A parable?
It does.
Who knows?
Okay.
Trees.
Well, you said Kat's with us a little bit longer, so if you want to do a quick screen share of lastmessagetothewest.com, maybe we could do that for a sec.
The website, right?
I believe, yeah, we were going to just do that. Now, a lot of you probably already know we are within the last week of voting.
Yes.
But Porridge and I, lovely Porridge from Australia, who's new, well, relatively new, second YouTube channel is Ruination Media. He was on the after party back in May, and he said, I have this idea of what if there was this premise where you had 5 minutes and you knew your video would be put on jumbotrons and sports stadia and airport lobbies around the world, and millions of people would see it, and you'd especially have an opportunity to reach out to people who might be apt to think our way if they were shown the right message, and be concerned, show why we're concerned about the West and our people. And we talked about it a little more, and I said, this is a good initiative. And so we decided to put our heads together and organize it. So we set an October 15th deadline, And I don't want to belabor it. A lot of you know this story, but we never know who's new. It always surprises me how there's a lot of people in our base or in our community who are just there, or maybe there's certain dots not connected. Certain people who know something I do but didn't know of Jason, or certainly people who know of Jason but didn't know of me, and a few people who even sometimes think Jason and I are the same person. So we do have to make sure we're sharing things, and we ask you guys to help us with that too. But long story short, we would have been happy with 10 participants. We had 29, and a great mixture of well-known names, including Jason here. Parge himself had wanted to make a video. We had Asha Logos and Mimirs Bruner and Poseidon who's here, but we also had people who are upstarts or independent, and that's exactly what we wanted. We also had the wonderful occasion of many people volunteering their time and talents, their money and talents, I should say. The prize pool grew significantly. We actually just added a 5th prize of $100. First prize was originally $200. Now it's $500 US. Actually, this page isn't even updated yet. It just changed today. But third should read 225. Someone changed that. There's just an error there. But fourth and fifth are 100. So we have over $1,200 now to give away. And the best thing is this is going to be a library where, of course, the competition aspect makes it fun and puts some focus on it. But you have these videos where you can share with friends and family if you think a certain video will hit them a certain way. And Lord of the Frogs is who I was referring to when I talked about people volunteering their talents. He is the gentleman who, right now we're on the About page, but Jason, if you just want to go to the Home for a minute, he came up with this. We wanted something really simple, really streamlined. So you see those are the avatars of all 29 videos. You create a login, you opt in on an email, and then you can vote. And when you're on each page, the embedded BitChute video is there. And there's a star system, but he has this whole algorithm worked out because he's good with all the tech stuff. Lord of the Frogs, who made the site, again, volunteered for us. He also volunteered a considerable sum of money to initially pump up the prize fund. But the more videos you vote on, the more your votes are weighed altogether. So if you just vote on one video and you give it the maximum number of stars, that wouldn't be weighed as heavily if you voted on all 29 videos, and then whatever video you gave the most stars would hold more weight because you watched more, you put more in. So there's an incentive to watch all of them. So it's really clever how he did it. It's very simply laid out. Obviously, something like this, you want it just nice and clean and not clunky. But that's it. If this is, hopefully most of you know about this, but if you don't, please do go vote. Support the great people who put in their time and talents to make these videos and are going to now be here as a library. Voting is open until Pacific time, the end of Thanksgiving Day, Pacific time in the United States, our Thanksgiving here in the US, which is next Thursday, the 28th of November. And then shortly after that, we'll tally everything. We'll make some people happy as we get into the Christmas Yuletide season and give out some cash, give out some nice prizes, and maybe Parge will come back, Jason. We'll do a little stream with him to announce and have some fun with that. We'll have to think of how we want to make a big splash. But yeah, it's just very simple. But please do share this URL, Last Message to the West. You'll certainly be seeing Parge and I, and I'm sure Jason will be retweeting us, sharing over these next few days before Thanksgiving here in the US as this really comes to a head so that we get the most votes in. We've already had a lot of votes, but we want to get as many as we can. But that is a rundown. I'm happy to take any questions, but there's really not too much to it.
I have a question. How
Yes.
did I not know until now that you had this separate website set up for voting? Because this
is what blows my mind about social media. Okay, so Kat and I were connected, and I don't know, is Twitter hiding my tweets? I've been tweeting about this for weeks.
I hardly ever see your tweets in my feed.
Yeah, well,
I would say I probably
Twitter,
but see them if someone else retweets it. If someone else I know retweets one of yours, then I think that's the only time I see it. But I don't think I see them organically.
That's frustrating. That's very frustrating, I have to say.
Because I'm sorry, I haven't voted on any videos because I didn't even know where to go do it, or if they were even up and ready to be voted on, or I didn't.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I do them as,
as I said, I'm always the last to know. So.
Well, if you speak at that out, Kat, then you create that as your reality. But no, that's terrible. I've heard certain things about you, Twitter. People have given me feedback that they're not seeing my tweets. So yeah, I mean, Jason and I, we know we're over the target at least because we're always dealing with hurdles like this. But I've posted it as posts on my YouTube. It's on all my social media, on Instagram, Gab, all that. And friends and colleagues, of course, like Jason, always obviously is going to retweet, and a lot of other people do. Mamirs Bruner has been very active about retweeting everything about this. Asher Logos has been hitting it pretty hard as well. So I don't know. That's crazy to me. That's crazy that this is the first time you're hearing about it.
I mean, I knew that you had some voting thing coming, but I had no idea that it was already up or that it's like even nearing the end of it, and I haven't even gone to do it yet. So I will do that.
Yeah, it's been up for a week and a half, I think.
Same day that I watched the man who planted the trees, or whatever it was called.
Maybe we can blame the man who planted the trees.
I need a day where I can just relax and just sit back and watch YouTube with no other responsibilities.
Oh, Semiagog, who's here as well, has been hitting it, and Poseidon. Yeah, a lot of people have been sharing it. A lot of people, certainly the people who are participants, like those guys, and then others as well. Forgive me that I'm not, remembering every single Twitter account, but there's definitely people in our general spheres who aren't content creators in the contest, that didn't participate in the contest, but still have been really wonderful about making sure it's always there, amplifying the message, as we say.
Indeed, and you mentioned that there is a 5th place prize, right? That's got to be.
Yeah, that is so new that Frogs has to go update that. But someone just very recently, and I just got another email from someone who's saying, "How do I go about doing this?" So who knows? There might be another prize increase. Sometimes people just say, put it where you want. And several people had said, like when Porridge and Jason was there for part of it, because there were some technical difficulties that night in late October, when we had a stream about this, the website wasn't quite up yet. But we had a stream about, well, I'll tell you that in a minute, because that's a little bit of more of the history. But during that stream, we had several people volunteer out of nowhere, didn't ask them, including Raymond and Heidi, who are here, of course, our great moderators, who just spontaneously gave more funds. And some of them earmarked it, and they said, look, I want this to add to a 3rd prize or something like that. So that's why they were kind of created that way, is that sometimes it was the person's request. But the reason that we did a special stream about this in late October, before the URL was even announced, is because originally we knew YouTube might give us some problems. But again, a little quick bit of history for anyone that doesn't know. As I mentioned, these are all embedded on BitChute on our site. We're pulling from BitChute. We thought that would be safer, of course. But we have a dedicated BitChute channel called Kindred Creators that Parge started for it. Well, there was a Kindred Creators channel on YouTube as well. And our original rollout plan was to premiere 3 or 4 a day. I took a couple of hours to set up this whole schedule where everything would be automatically premiere at a certain day at a certain time, and had everything, all the information filled out of where to find the content creator. We had this all set up, all automatic, ready to go. On the first day of premieres, maybe after the first day of premieres, I think we started on a Thursday, and the Friday, which funny enough was the day after Red Ice was nixed, their main channel was nixed, they nixed the Kindred Creators site. So we didn't even get to do that. We knew that we might have problems. Maybe it wouldn't live there forever. We weren't going to use YouTube to populate the site, but we were, we know people are still on YouTube, and we wanted to use the premieres to create a buzz. and tweet each premiere as well. So people would be looking forward. Oh, Poseidon's is going to premiere at 3:00 tomorrow, and this one's going to premiere 2 days after that at 5:00, and that would create a little buzz. We wanted to do this multiple phase rollout, and YouTube totally crapped on us on that one. They destroyed the channel after the first day of premieres. So we got on the mic a few days later. I think it was that Tuesday, Jason, if I remember correctly. And Parge joined. And as I said, Jason was there just for part of it. And we just talked about what was going on. We talked about what was going on with Red Ice. We wanted people to stay interested in the project and Last Message to the West, and told them, well, the website's not quite ready yet, but this is what's going on. And that's when we got a lot more of those donations. It was a really wonderful show of support. As has happened so many times here, Jason has lived through that as well on certain of his going free streams. When we are attacked and besmirched, the people here say, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to show you guys that we support you, and we can't tell you how much that means to us. And the only reason the site was a little bit delayed is, again, because of Lord of the Frogs' expertise and his brilliance, is that he did a lot of things behind the scenes to make sure that there's a lot of security so that the site is not prone to being hacked. Bots can show up and put 1 million votes on just one video and screw us up or anything like that. So it wasn't until mid-November that we were able to finally start announcing the site. But that is the story of Last Message to the West, folks. That is the story.
And folks, who out there has voted yet? Have you already voted, or are you waiting to vote? Why are you waiting?
Why are you waiting? These videos
because they didn't know about it either. I can't be the only one.
That's a great question. And of course, I don't hold it against you, Kat. It's just knowing the social media shenanigans. But that is a good question. If anyone in the chat, that would be useful feedback.
I'd tell you to start a poll on your Twitter, but nobody would see it.
Well, we can sort of poll on entropy. Jason, do we already have a poll on entropy? I have to go over and check out the entropy.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
but I'm not on entropy, so then I can't vote in it. And
well, there are four people would be able to vote in the poll. I don't know that it would give us.
We have to be able to get you on entropy, especially because entropy is what embeds on the afterparty.tv.
Well,
and
it's okay if I can't participate. Nobody wants women to vote anyway. It's just one out.
I guess there it is. That's the real motivation.
Step away from
Kat, you're going to have to get involved in entropy because it's just one more thing to sign up for. It's real quick. It interfaces with your YouTube account, and soon it will others, because that's really where you can watch us on our site, and that's really where all this is migrating. Increasingly, we're going to be promoting the afterparty.tv.
I'm such a Luddite. I hate adopting any kind of new tech. Just kind of like
Luddite. You're going to have to be flexible if we want to avoid the censorship. But, well, this is the poll, and whether we put it on entropy or not. Yeah, there aren't a lot of people on entropy right now. It's true. Well, I'll just say this to the chat, as Jason and Kat were reminding me, this is important. Yeah, please tell me, did you know about this? Is this the first time you're hearing about lastmessagetothe.west.com, that the site is out, that the videos are there, and that you can vote, and that voting closes on Thanksgiving Day in the U.S.? Let us know. I'll keep an eye on the DLive chat and the YouTube chat.
Yes, indeed. And why don't we, excuse me, why don't we go ahead and play your video, Jared, while we still have Kat, so that she can see it as well, since she has been left out of so many things. We have Outrageously Inoffensive here saying, I voted and I support Kat in her voting hour of need. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Put her to the front of the line. Let her vote, for God's sake.
Yeah. Let women vote.
So we can go ahead. Jared, if you're good with that, we can go ahead and...
Yeah, I'm happy to take questions after. I will just say, I mentioned the Red Ice YouTube deletion. That is the reason why this video you're about to see didn't come out in October. Obviously, that threw everything into a tailspin. But Henrik and I still wanted this info out there. I just started in September, so this is only the second installment. Very pleased and honored that I'm collaborating with Red Ice. and doing things to talk about our heritage and customs and symbols and traditions and weave them into lessons for us in the here and now today. So this was for October. You'll see it talks about the harvests, festivals, and Halloween, but I try to put a different spin on it. And you'll have the November one shortly too. So this just came out a few days ago, but the actual November one will be out somewhat soon as well. We'll be back on track. But yeah, this was intended for October, but it's better late than never. We still wanted you to see it. So Jason will play it in a moment, and then I'm happy to take any questions about it, and then we'll see where the rest of the conversation goes.
Yes, absolutely. And back here, we talk back here at this because, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are all standing around a single microphone. So when one is talking, the other two step back, and we talk to each other.
And there's just one light bulb hanging from the ceiling, and it's a wooden shack, creaky, and it's starting to rain outside.
It's the whole shack is crepitating with the wind and everything outside. Kat was just asking whether or not Semigog knows a word for someone with a big vocabulary, and then something just hit me. I'm not even sure it's a word, but I'm perhaps making it up from grandiloquent. A grandiloquist that would perhaps suffice. Maybe we can get a vote on that. A grandiloquist.
Say it again. You broke up a little bit. What is the word?
Grandiloquist.
Okay. Interesting.
It sounds right, even if it isn't right. It sounds like it should be.
People make up words all the time. You just have to say it often enough, and eventually they have to put it in the dictionary. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Love that. I love that too. That's a kind of random, absurd stuff I would do with friends growing up. We would have
Semigog says that the word for someone with a big vocabulary, as he's repeatedly told, is pedant.
Oh,
but that's not what I thought it was. But okay.
Yeah.
No. Pedant. A pedant is
that's me.
A display making a display of general knowledge. Yes, but
a bit of a different context, and definitely a negative connotation. But I was going to say the kind of thing I would do, and maybe we could even do now. Hey, you got to remain a kid at heart. Is make up a name for people with a fear of wolves wearing capes. Think on that? What is that affliction? I don't know, Kat. So far, we'll see as more things roll in. I am not seeing anybody in the chats tell me explicitly that they did not know before tonight that last message to the West.com existed.
Look bad. Come on, guys. At least pretend that you also didn't see it. Otherwise, I look bad. Makes me
it's not you, Kat. Come on, it's not you. It's Twitter. I mean, we can all share that.
Someone said he
share our.
Clark Nichols said, "I didn't know."
There we go. You got some.
Clark Nichols. Thank you, Clark.
Your checks in the mail from Kat. All right, we'll check out. Semigog's trying to hang in there. He has something to do, but he wants to see the Red Ice video. So we'll play this Red Ice video and we'll continue our chat.
We will indeed. But I do have to mention that the best nonce word that I've seen for the person who speaks with nothing but large vocabulary words is by outrageously inoffensive with vocabulator. Perfect nonce word just for this occasion.
I saw that. That's great. That's great. Outrageously inoffensive.
Okay, let's watch this video. And folks, if you haven't seen the site, if you have voted, let us know, whatever it is. If you're going to vote, let us know. Go ahead and let us know in the chat, because that is really useful information for us. And here we go.
What is dead, yet part of life, and what is living, yet already dead? This is a riddle that we'll unwrap today. Indicators of a sick and dying society are all around us. Zombies are everywhere in popular culture, a sign of the times, an unconscious assertion of where we are. On a more serious and devastating note, we're inundated each day with news steeped in what some would call a cult of death. But what are the distinctions between a clear-eyed assessment and acceptance of death versus the decidedly anti-life worldviews and practices we see today in the ailing West? Death is part of life, versus an entirely anti-life view. Is this just wordplay? Maybe the zombies have been eating my brain. It's been observed for some time now that the zombie trend, which has pervaded popular culture since around the turn of the century, reflects the zeitgeist and has something in it for everyone. The left can fret and vent about the decline they're ushering in, all the while distancing themselves from it and masking it in gimmicky entertainment. The right can buy their zombie apocalypse firearms and tactical gear. Yes, this is a real thing, and prepare for the coming collapse. And those more attuned to the demographic shifts and also how the mainstream brainwashes the masses can find their own metaphors. But everyone knows something is wrong. A culture that was more homogenous, cohesive, and rooted wouldn't quite be so enamored of undead soulless slaves who want to make you one of them. We would do well to understand what vital energies and wisdom spring from a true and organic connection to death, and contrast this with what is disconnected, flailing about and destroying with no view towards regeneration, destruction for destruction's sake, consumption for consumption's sake, unmoored and out of tune with what is balanced and sustaining. To do so, we'll take a look back at some of the traditions of our European ancestors. This is not in an attempt to recreate the past, nor is it to say that everything about the past was better. I can already see some of the comments now. Rather, it is to uncover the best aspects of our timeless character traits, even though those traits, of course, sometimes are perverted or buried under the modern world, and reassert those traits now for our own survival, well-being, and thriving. Death holds a mystifying fascination, and in the autumn and latter part of the year especially, our ancestors encountered and even celebrated death as a fact of life. Today we carve our jack-o'-lanterns, tell ghost stories, and in the month of October in some of our lands, prepare for the modern holiday of Halloween, which has much older and deeper roots in similar holidays seen from various European traditions. Alpha-Blot in the Teutonic lands, Giadi in the Slavic, Martini and Velu lakes in the Baltic, Samhain in the Celtic. One aspect of these old traditions was a quiet and private veneration of the dead. This could take the form of a family meal where all was dark and silent at the homestead, and the spirits of deceased relatives were invited, so to speak, to the occasion. Our ancestors weren't being macabre for its own sake when they were doing this, nor were they in denial about their loved ones having passed from this life. They were honoring the dead and reminding themselves that our families, and more broadly our people, are part of a grand procession through time, and that we the living are just one link in the chain. And the dead had a real presence in our ancestors' lives, so long as they kept the memory of the dead alive. Somewhat like we keep pictures today of dead relatives, or maybe even speak or pray to them. But the practices I'm mentioning here put much more of an intentional focus on the living's relation to the dead. Indeed, this was part of a larger worldview where our earthly life was seen as just one mode of existence, just one dimension, in a living universe that's a tapestry of significance and meaning. A bit different than the world only of stats and graphs made by our corporate and managerial zombies. But they'll engineer the perfect world for you. Just you wait. Now, these practices that I described about honoring the dead or encountering death are very different than commodifying death, or twisting it to invert a healthy natural order, or letting undue fear of it take you down a road of extreme imbalance, so that you yourself become one of the soulless, walking dead. But unfortunately, we see things like this today in much of our modern world. We see it in how the elderly are often treated as disposable. We see how in some of our countries, so-called healthcare systems thrive on sickness and addiction, all the while advertisers ironically sell us a siren song of eternal youth. We see it in endless consumption and growth, which is the ideology of a cancer cell, and we see it in the celebration of barren wombs and the glorification of killing a living baby inside of its mother in some kind of a heinous negative sacrament, all in the name of freedom and progress. These kinds of things could only happen when the lines are cut between the body and the mind, between the high and the low, yes, between death and life. To turn back to that tricky subject of death as illuminator, the practices discussed reveal that our ancestors knew, and we of course at any moment can remember, that much wisdom is attained and energy freed by looking squarely into the face of death. There's an icy thrill that comes from brushing up against death and its mysteries. The mythic wild hunt tellingly began at this time of year during autumn, folklore that tells of a ghastly host of riders on dark horses flying over the land and making quite the racket, whisking you away in their frenzy if you're caught by them. This has parallels in the Doulahan stories, the Headless Riders, which expresses one way in the American tradition as Washington Irving's Legend of Sleepy Hollow. There were also bonfires and revelry at this time of year, the late autumn festivals, expressed today in our desire for Halloween parties, even though that may be warped by the modern world. The dangerous ghouls and benevolent elves we think of at this time of year were thought of by our ancestors as either the spirits of dead relatives, elemental forces of nature whose wild powers we must respect and exercise caution with, or the shadowy mysteries of the unknown. This was understood as the time of year when the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead were thinnest, and thus much wisdom and insight could be gleaned. Add this to things like the Wild Hunt story and the cathartic autumn celebrations, and we see the power latent in encountering death and its swirling, eternal dance with life. This state of consciousness, this willingness to look into the abyss, has parallels in the fury of the berserker warrior, who must be out of his mind during battle to protect his life, while simultaneously not fearing death. It has parallels in how artists get inspired when they create their new works. Lovemaking is a transportive frenzy the French call orgasm, the little death. Even rock and metal bands using skulls and crossbones and other imagery of death reveals the power, the connection between creation and death, between life and death. The meaning and the ecstasy is derived from a holistic experience and understanding, the connection of all things. This is feeling the life force move through you. But there are those who want to take the life force away. These pods, these husks of people hate what is beautiful, hate what they cannot make or cannot have. They tell us that we are not a people, we have nothing and are nothing. They want us to be undead, unfeeling slaves like the zombies, slaves to their dystopian world order they're attempting. There are those under such a materialist spell and so wildly out of balance that they would do anything to sustain a few more years of their bodily functions, of stimulating their nervous systems for base pleasures, or feeling drunk on power for power's sake, lording over others. And so in their twisted minds to accomplish this, they'll do anything, including defiling and corrupting even the young and innocent. This is anti-life, not to be confused with a proper understanding of death's dark and cryptic elements, which are still part of the engines of life and creation. There are plenty in our European traditions and practices that show our ancestors are able to take in all of existence, including the fact of death, and use it as a way to celebrate life. In encountering death, in engaging with it as part of the cycles and rhythms of nature and the order of the cosmos, we can see that our understanding of death is ultimately part of a posture and worldview that is life-affirming. I'm Jared George, the Great Order on social media, for Red Ice TV.
Magnificent. I really enjoyed that, Jared. Well done.
Yeah, that was awesome. Do you do the editing for that yourself, Jared, or do they do it?
No. That's Henrik. So
Okay.
I write it and I record it to the camera, of course. And for the first one in September, if any of you saw that, more about men and women and chivalry and this story from the Celtic epic, the Mabinogion, I had found some of the images for that. And also for the upcoming November one, I may well be doing that as well. This one, Henrik said that he had a library and so much footage, B-roll video or images with fun Halloween and death stuff. So he sourced all of them. But even if I help find the stuff to cut to, he's the one who actually edits it and puts it all together. And we were messaging back and forth the other night when we were finishing it up. So we were communicating a lot and we collaborate and work really well together. But no, the actual visual presentation of how the video is put together, no, that is definitely Henrik's expertise and all of his years of learning and honing his craft.
Well, it looks really great, and I love the message.
Thank you. Yeah, this one got a little long. I'm going to keep these to about 5 minutes, but yeah,
I'm the queen of like half-hour long videos, so I don't mind.
I'm trying to, as I mentioned before, instead of just getting up and being like, well, Halloween has roots in these older festivals, and these are the older festivals. I try to weave it into things going on today, like the zombie stuff is more fun in the beginning, but then at the end, crazy things going on in the news that we know about, and making this bigger point about evil versus death. And you still kind of learn a little about our European heritage along the way, but that other stuff hopefully makes it a little more well-rounded, or gives a little more of a dimension, instead of just lecturing about Halloween has roots in these ancient holidays. So that's kind of the approach, as I try to weave it with the present. That's kind of the
right. I think the whole modern fascination with zombies is disturbing on a number of levels, which I would love to stay and talk about, but I do actually have to get going now. So I wish
that's a big topic. Maybe for another time.
Everyone in the chat, and yeah, maybe it's something we can cover sometime in the future.
Yes, that sounds like a great subject to explore.
All right, good night. You have a good rest of your show.
All right.
Kat, yeah, thank you for joining us. We'll talk soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Jason, was that the first time you saw that?
No, I ended up being able to watch the rest of it before we went live tonight. But yeah, I'd watched the first half and then watched the remainder before the show. And it's magnificent. Well done. And it actually was something that earlier tonight, Donald Kent, just incredibly talented, remarkably talented, Donald Kent was on Zarathustra with she's still with us. Hyrith was here.
The
but
Friday night acoustic shows.
Yes, and they were talking about people working together so that we could make these magnificent products in the end, because we can only do so much as an individual. We can only know so much, and especially in this world, as I was talking about the other day, where everything has become so specialized, we really do need to team up. We really do need a community. This can't be. I know that certain personalities are wont to get out ahead and in front of everyone and be seen, and sometimes people encourage others to do that because they think, well, that's just the natural way that leaders come about or something of this nature. But when you end up having something like that, there are so many weaknesses, so many Achilles heels sewn into it, and it has been defeated time and again and again. And certainly now, where we've gotten to the point where, as I say, everything has become so hyper-focused because everything that we do is so complex, impossible for a human being to be able to do all of these different tasks, not to mention that even if you did know how to do all of these different things, you simply wouldn't have enough time in a day to be able to do them. I know I'm pushed all the way to my max with all the things that I try to do. Yeah. So by being able to collaborate, work together, have a community, as I was referring on the Going Free stream the other night, kind of how they sew the Kevlar together to make Kevlar vests so strong, is this weaving of the threads. That is how we have to be as a community. That is where we bring all of our diverse strengths together, and we end up becoming infinitely stronger as a consequence. And also not just are the products that we create so much better, but just use a big word, multifarious. We have these multifarious.
I love that word.
Community, and we bring all of these talents together. Not only do we make all of our products better, the things that we are doing and that we hope will help and are engineered to help our people in one way or another go free of the disease that they are suffering with, this anti-whiteism. But it also makes it much harder to undermine us by just cracking the glass of a single individual who sits out, atop of the rest and wants all of the lights on him or her. So this is a really good thing that we're doing. It is going to take a lot longer to come to fruition. A community, it's a lot easier to have an individual rise up, and it's kind of like when you put on muscle or put on fat. The longer it takes to put that muscle on, the longer it's going to stay on you, even when you can't get to the gym, etc. If you lose weight, or we take it the other direction, if you rapidly lose weight, it's going to rapidly reappear on you. When you want to build something strong, it's really easy to have an individual step out front, a lot of limelight, get interviews, get talked about everywhere, a single person, and that can seem like it grows really quickly. It's like the Barnum and Bailey tent that goes up in town, and you have this big center pole that it goes up underneath this tent. But that, of course, is easy to knock down. And
you and I spoke about that in the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, a little behind the scenes tap history. You know, Jason and I we spoke about this in different ways, and I can't remember how we phrased it, but the spirit of it was, we just want to slowly march through this, put one foot in front of the other, build something that is valuable, put our best foot forward, show high character. And as we continue to talk to people on our show and meet people and come to collaborate with people, more doors would open up. And we resolved that we would just have a slow and steady build. And neither of us, as we were talking about with Kat earlier, and that is a nice thing about doing more creative projects. It is good to show, it's fulfilling just on a personal level, of course, to be able to show more facets of who you are, because, you know, people may see just one side of you when you're talking about these heavy topics on the shows. So more of that flourishes, and you get feedback, and it's a self-creating, self-generating kind of a process, but that's on the personal level. But out there, Jason and I didn't want to, and we don't have the personalities. Even, I guess I started talking about personalities because, of course, we're guys, and sometimes you can get competitive, or there's a healthy amount of energy and rah, let's go energy. So of course there's that too. I don't want to undercut that aspect, but I'm pretty sure that any of you who know Jason and I know we weren't going to come at this and be like, well, let's just go try to make a splash and say outrageous things and get into fights and debates with people and make a name for ourselves that way. That wasn't what was going on. But as Jason was just saying, this whole thing, and you all in this communicating and creating with us, is going to have legs because it's growing the right way, and it's growing in a multivariant way. And if you guys liked this video, and I definitely appreciate what I'm seeing in the chat. You know, I'm seeing some good feedback. Lisa, outrageously inoffensive. Poseidon, Ryan, Herath, if I'm saying that correctly. Tell me how to say that. Herath. I think you guys liked the video, and I really appreciate that. Go tell Henrik as well. You know, the audio-visual presentation, the editing, the music together, you know, that's Henrik's talents. And as I said, him and I messaged a lot and collaborated a lot to make it what it is. And he's very generous. You know, he said to me, he'll say to me, he'll phrase it this way, well, what do you want, Jared? It's your video. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, this is red ice, you know. Look at how big that platform and how long they've been around compared to me. And Henrik's not pulling rank and being like, well, it has the Red Ice name on it, so I have final say. He'll be like, Jared, what do you want? It's your video. Henrik is extremely generous in that way. But of course, I think because there's a mutual trust and a mutual respect. But there's so many good things going on. I was just Twitter DMing with Fornull earlier, because you talk about showing more of yourself, and I have a tremendous background in music, and that hasn't even come out yet. And I'm itching for that, and I need to develop that. I wanted to be part of this. And I was asking Fornull about his production setup. I wanted to pick his brain about a few things. So knowing who's out there, and I know we've said this before, but I'll briefly say this. I have a creative background. I've said this. Many others have said this too. Jason, you've spoken to this. In my past, I was very disappointed often by how flaky people were. Basic things about returning phone calls, returning emails, trying to get creative projects together with creative individuals. I am a creative person, but I'm also an organized person. And I would find that it was hard to find people like that, even those who were aspiring to be professional in those kinds of fields. And the kinds of responses that I've gotten, I mentioned Micah Official before, who helped with the audio editing of the skit you guys saw with Kat and the Who We Are video. This is someone who just volunteered, someone who I just email with, and we're able to make these things together, like that Who We Are video, just over email, just by communicating over email, and it gets done. There's so much more effectiveness and efficiency, and people who do return the emails on time and are showing up. And I'm very impressed and very heartened by that. It shows that we're serious, and we have people of high character here and have the right values, that have that work ethic and have that sense of commitment to someone else. That's why these things are getting done. So I'm very appreciative of that as well, because Jason's absolutely right. All these things, most of the things that you've seen me do, unless it's one of my videos where it's just me turning on a camera talking to it, it involves somebody else, at least helping a little bit in some way. It could be, picking Poseidon's brain for some tech knowledge that he has, or Lord of the Frogs with the little tech knowledge he has about the site when I was doing the afterparty.tv. All kinds of things. There's the resources of all of us together, and it's been extraordinary to see it and live it.
And precisely. It's very exciting times. This has been a very exciting, it's late night somewhere. If anybody, I think it's, we're right at the witching hour. It's 12 a.m. East Coast of the United States, right outside for me of the nation's capital, where all things evil are planned and plotted, and they are busily trying to figure out how to shut us all down. It makes me marvel endlessly about how they can have all of the money in the world, all the printing presses and all of the wealthiest countries under their control. And we get together, and 5, 10, 20, 100 people together, get a few dollars, literally a few dollars, and the anti-whites go crazy with rage to shut everything down. And they go crazy with rage to shut everything down because they know that the cure to the venom that runs through our veins is well within our grasp. And we can give that cure to our people. That's what we're doing here, building slow and steady a great white edifice for the ages, not some temple to some individual's self-worship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. And hopefully being near DC with all that evil, my video won't make you jumpy tonight. Now that you've seen that you're keeping the lights on or turning around. What did I just hear in the house?
Well, we'll see. I won't give anything away, but I'll just say that there are a lot of noisemakers within hand's reach. So a lot of noisemakers around the house. So if there aren't any questions or any topics that anybody has in the chats, then I think we will wrap up here tonight. I was just taking a quick look. I tried to, Raymond, I will say to you that I saw that you wrote that someone had given a Ninjagini, but it did not show up over here on DLive. I don't see any Ninjaginis.
Oh, Jason, we're going to have to build a new garage soon for all these Ninjaginis.
I guess so. And I'm trying to distribute the awards or whatever it looks. It says this giveaway is too close to your last one. Please wait and try again. So I don't know. I would love to give you all some of this Leno.
Lenos. I caught a great comment from Ray, of course, moderating over on DLive. Ray, much love to you and your family. Talking about the video and some nice words about that. I appreciate it. And hail Henrik and Lana, of course. But also saying, going with the theme of that video, he was talking to his 4-year-old about their ancestors today. Well, can't start early enough, and that's a beautiful thing to hear, Ray. Very happy about that, but not surprised of a man like you who's here and participating in this. And again, for anyone that didn't catch this in the beginning, yes, that was about harvest festivals in October. It was, of course, delayed because of the Red Ice YouTube deletion back in October, but we make it even if it's a little delayed, get it out to you, good information. And the November one, that will be out soon. We'll get back on our schedule.
And that sounds like the best place to wrap this up. The D Live won't let me give out the lino, and I appreciate a big thank you to everyone who did give 99 cents or less. A blanket thank you to those of you who did that. And I thank you. Let me check over here on Entropy really quick.
Yeah, funny, guys. Why was no one on Entropy tonight?
Yeah, we do have I just reminded myself, a super chat on Entropy, $25 actually. So, but by John, thank you so much, dear friend.
Thank you.
Writing fantastic show tonight. Also, NWG's point on white people having nowhere else to go on Wednesday's PWR was enlightening, depressing, and inspiring. Thanks for this. Well, the truth is always that way. When you face things, and thank you very much for that comment, brother. When you face reality, there are going to be difficult elements in reality. But the beauty of that is that you can then plan for the difficult things that are ahead of you, the difficult challenges, the difficult hurdles, rather than do what far too many people of our do, which is this escapism. And you can be escaping into white flighting. Essentially, we put this term to it, white flighting into gaming. But you can also white flight into what we were talking about the other night, when with this idea about being able to secede. That is just idleness. That is just a hope without any merit, warrant, or possibility whatsoever. So it is just white flighting. People, they grab onto such things because they hope that such a thing is possible. They hope that someone else would do it for them. I'm afraid the reality is, and I love that the reality is, that we have to do this ourselves. I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. The day is going to come at some point in the future when we have gone to dust and are long gone, when descendants of us and our people and all those who we bring through this eye of this needle, when they look back and they say, how amazing would that have been to be alive at a time when so many heroes were living together and came together for the glory of our people. How amazing. There'll never be another time like that in history, when there are so many heroes on planet Earth at one time. That is going to be how we are remembered.
It's a privilege to be alive right now.
Exactly.
My first full video after my first YouTube deletion in June was about that very thing. You have to turn it around and think, it's all come to this, and you're alive now for this crucial time. Think of it as every ancestor, every god, however you want to imagine it, watching, that has the spirit of Europa running in their veins. You're here for this. That's a privilege. That's an honor. Rise up to that.
Very well said, brother. Well, any final thoughts?
Well, I want people to know overall that it's late night somewhere format, they might not be familiar with it. We experimented with this and did more of these in the earlier part of the year. And now that we have the afterparty.tv up and running and getting into doing more kinds of content, you'll be seeing more of these. So if it's new to you, it is, as you've been experiencing a little bit tonight, it is more of a late night intimate radio show. We are audio only, as you can see. That's on purpose. Our guests will be audio only when we do these. There's, of course, on the afterparty.tv, on that side menu, a page for It's Late Night Somewhere, so you can peruse the old episodes so far. But they're very spontaneous. Sometimes they bring out a certain intimacy in both the guests and the chat. It's the kind of show where we've had people just DM us while we're on and pop in. So it's not always planned if there's a certain guest, and even some people from the chat, we're going to be looking into if there's a sensible way we can do that, bring people in from the chat if they want to say hello. We did that a little bit in the beginning of the year. So yeah, this is a way to get a different dimension, a different kind of experience. And I really love it. there's something intimate about radio. I've always liked the radio format, and this is it's late night somewhere. You see that little icon up top in the top right with the microphone in the studio. That's what this is. A little different than tap. Herath says it's super cozy. I agree. I like the coziness. I do this here, and most of my lights are off. I just have a little light on in front of me. Everything's dark. I feel like I'm in a radio studio, and it's a way, we've had some great conversations. I mean, Kat has been on before, Semiagog's been on, and you really get under the hood of how some of these people think, and you're just listening to, them from their video content. You've seen them get up and give these presentations and work out, they've worked out a script, or at least to have a very clear outline for their video. But now you kind of just see the stories and the musings and these still unformed thoughts, or things from their lives, or just kind of all of us in the moment as conversations go, connecting dots or making each other think of new things, all happening. There's been these long conversations, but I was listening back to some of them, like one with Kat and Semiagog, from one of the first, like the third one that we did, if you go back and look at the archive on our site. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. It's something that we need to make clips from. And I'll leave you on this point. That is one of the greatest ways, if you like what we do and what's going on here in this community, and you're wondering how you might be able to help, we cannot have enough people making clips from these shows to make little 2 to 10 minute clips that we can then post. And we have a clips page on our site as well. But of course, the clips can be put on video platforms. And if they're really, really short, if they're about 2 minutes, they could even be put directly into a Twitter post, a tweet. But wherever they go, these little bits, these little nuggets from these longer streams, if you're interested, it's easy to get a little program that downloads. It can rip the video file from YouTube or BitChute, wherever you're watching it, and then you can throw it into something as simple as iMovie if you have a Mac. It doesn't have to be something crazy. You don't have to be a master editor, but you just find the timestamp, clip it out, export the file, and then put it up somewhere or send it to Jason and I. I can't tell you how much that'll help. We definitely need more people doing that. I try to do it a little bit, but not going to lie, and I know the same is for Jason, it's getting to the point where I barely have time to eat. And I'm not saying that to sound woe is me. I wouldn't be doing anything else. With what Jason was just saying a minute ago, there's such a sense of purpose and meaning and destiny behind all of this. But there's only so many hours in the day. And as Jason was saying, this is collaborative. This is a community. So please do consider that. But even if you don't make the clips, we hope you're enjoying these different kinds of shows. I love these radio style shows. Yes, Herath, they're cozy. And you know what? You can come on. You appreciate coziness. So Herath, you got to come on sometime soon. We'll chat with you on one of these. And maybe some of you out there in the chat, like we said, we could be open to that. But this is It's Late Night Somewhere. That's what it is.
It is. It's always, and it's late night here. So we're going to have to sign off so we can actually, I have to get work done before I go to sleep. Jared's talking about how busy we are. The work never ends. I always wake up on too little sleep, and I feel like, my God, I had too little sleep. And then perhaps some of you know, not perhaps, I know that many of you noticed this when I started the Going Free stream very unwell. I was pretending to be well. But as I got more into the fight for White Wellbeing, I felt better and better and better. And you all could tell, you wrote me. That is the reality of going free. That's the reality of serving White Wellbeing. There is one true biospirit. It's beating in the center of your chest. Your soul, where it meets your flesh. That's where it is, ladies and gentlemen. A thing we can't yet identify with our machines, but maybe one of these days we will. We'll see what happens in the future once we recapture our destiny. I'm sure there is nothing we cannot resolve. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we will be seeing you all again very soon. Thank you for joining us in another episode of It's Late Night Somewhere.
Good night.